Aw, hey dear.
Sorry.
How are you? Rough day today. The funeral.
Yeah, the funeral wasn't too bad. You should have come with me. It would have been nice to have a date for the funeral.
Funeral. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I don't know. I just keep thinking about what the pastor said, though. Hey, he said, knowing your destination will affect the way that you take your journey.
You're not planning on going anywhere, are you?
No. But I was thinking about how we as Christian workers can sometimes take Jesus' resurrection and his return for granted, just the same way we do like with evangelism and sharing the gospel. We're exposed to it so much that we forget that it's something actually quite meaningful.
Okay, hon, you've got a lot of thoughts right now, but I don't know, they're not totally coherent. Can you just slow down and explain this a little bit better to me?
Okay, so bottom line is I think that we take salvation for granted.
Of course we do. Even in our best moments, I think even when we grasp to our greatest capacity the gift that God has given us in salvation, even then we can't fully appreciate what God has done for us.
Well, how could we? It'd be so hard. It's actually unfathomable to understand. But I think we take everything God does for us for granted.
Well, often, but not always. And I think there are things that actually help us to appreciate God more.
Yeah, like enjoying a nice, juicy piece of well-cooked meat, cooked to perfection, and then we thank God for giving us animals.
Let's dig a little deeper, hun. What's the hardest trial that you've ever had to go through? Think about it.
Okay, got it, right here.
Okay, how did you get through it?
Ooh, I would say that was a pretty bad time of my life. I felt pretty vulnerable. I didn't feel like I could do anything about it, so I actually prayed a lot. And I had a bunch of people praying for me, and some people from the church actually came and did things for me.
Wow, that's good to hear. And did you read the Bible at that time?
Of course I did. In the Bible, I found words of encouragement, and God really spoke to me through that time.
So would it be fair to say that at those times you appreciated more what God had done for you?
More than fair. So what you're saying is that difficulties can help me appreciate God more?
They can, if we handle them the right way.
Well, think about it. Difficulties have helped me appreciate God more. Think about Philippians 2, 6-8.
How about this? I'll do more than think about it. I'll read it. All right, Philippians 2, verses 6-8. Though he was in the form of God, Jesus did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross.
And I appreciate that Jesus came and he endured everything that we would have to, and even more, also that he could empathize with us. I think that's amazing.
Right, and he's fully God, so he's powerful to save. He can help us in our circumstances, for our good and also for his glory. And he's omnipresent, so he never ever abandons us, but he's our ever-present help in times of trouble.
Yeah, and being at the funeral really helped me remember and refocus on the fact that Jesus will come again. And when he does, he will reign. We get to spend eternity with him. This life is not all that there is.
So our Savior not only sustains us through our trials here and now, but one day he'll come back and he'll rescue us out of them entirely.
And I think that knowing this actually helped Jesus in his suffering as well.
Wow, I've never thought about that. How so?
Well, Hebrews 12:2 says, "The founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God."
So he had his eyes and mind fixed on his eternal home with God. He knew that this world was not his permanent home.
Yeah, and we can do the same. This home is not our home either. So Christ's death and resurrection on the cross made a way for us to be able to spend eternity with him in heaven. And
listen to this from Romans 8, verse 18. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. So when we try to compare the sin and the pain that we're experiencing now on earth with the joy and blessings of eternity, it's not even a fair comparison.
Yeah, it's like comparing where you grew up, Saskatoon, to where I grew up, Vancouver.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you think about the pain. Saskatoon gets to like minus 40 degrees Celsius in the winter, minus 50 sometimes. In Vancouver, it's usually fairly nice and balmy. It's just like maybe around zero. We get a bit of rain. So that would be like the blessing part of it.
Whatever, Mr. Vancouver, we're still not moving there, even if you do liken it to heaven. And I think the point that Paul is trying to make here is that any suffering, even great, great suffering, is nothing compared to the glory of God that awaits us.
Yeah, the suffering and joy, they're not equal in length of time, their weight of importance, the strength of our human emotion and response. It doesn't matter what we endure here on earth, the joy that we'll experience in God's forever kingdom far outweighs anything that can happen here.
So obviously trials will still be very painful. Like people, honestly, they have to deal with some really terrible things. But if we can keep our focus on our eternal destination, that'll help us to endure some of those trials, knowing that one day we will spend eternity with God.
Yeah, and not only hanging on like we're just hanging on by a thread in this life, but we can really reflect God's glory and his character here on earth.
Excellent point. And I want to reflect God's glory.
We can endure this life with joy because of the imminent return of Christ and because of the hope of the resurrection.
Knowing your destination changes how you take the journey. I get it now.
I told you. Now let's see if you really get it. Recap what we talked about.
Okay.
All of it.
Here goes. Knowing your destination impacts how you plan for and how you take the journey. This is true spirituality as well, and so in order to live well, we must know our eternal destination. The doctrine of the return and resurrection gives us hope through our trials, and Christ's example of enduring suffering is our guide to know how to apply this doctrine to our lives. We can endure this life and any trial that may come our way with joy because of the truth of the unmatchable glory that is to come in the resurrection.
So Celeste, you do get it.
So Brent, if Jesus returned today, would you be ready?
I was born ready.
Oh, come on. I know you say that a lot, but I don't think it really applies here.
Yeah, you're probably right.